Yo.
G'day.
Howdy, people.
G'day, everybody. Welcome to episode 17 of the MUTAGENTS Livestream. Appreciate everybody who's joined us early. We've got a very special guest with us, as you can see, and as you probably spotted his handsome face in the thumbnail as well. We've got Phil from Treasures Paprika joining us for the next hour and a half or so to talk all things turtles. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know, we talk this stuff quite a bit, you know, Dean, Dan, and I, but it's pretty cool to have Phil here because not only is he a great bloke and, you know, we love chatting with him, but also, you know, he's got a slightly different experience to us, having grown up in New Zealand and now living in Japan as a vintage toy collector there. So it's going to be cool to hear all about Phil's experience, you know, growing up playing with the turtles, watching the cartoons, ripping open packs of cards and all that fun stuff. And obviously now collecting the line as an adult in Japan. So really looking forward to ripping into today's discussion. But before we do that, let's say g'day to people that have joined us early in the chat. Very, very
Johnny.
cool. Johnny is first as always.
Always.
Good on you, mate.
Hey, Johnny.
Appreciate you coming in nice and early, Johnny. We've got Nate here. G'day, Nate.
Nate.
Hey, Nate. Good to see you, buddy.
We've got Scree joining us. G'day, mate.
Great.
Great.
Are they little ghosts or little screes?
I don't know what they are. We've got Ollie.
Ollie's
Ollie.
made it. Ah,
Hey,
nice.
How are you, legend?
We've got Jules. G'day, Jules.
Hey,
Joel.
Joel.
We've got Ian from Toy Box.
Yeah.
G'day, Ian.
Yeah.
It's got his
Yeah.
wine or all three.
He's got
Nice.
3 lined up, ready to go.
Cheers, Ian.
I got an apple cider.
Simon.
Yeah, cheers,
Yeah.
Ian. Good on you, mate. We've got Simon joining
Oh,
us. G'day,
Simon. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Simon. What's going on, mate?
Phil, we had a blast catching up with Simon last weekend. It was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed meeting up with him in Japan about almost a year ago now. I can't believe it's almost a year ago. We went to a big wrestling shop in Tokyo, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
mate.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, great dude. G'day, Sean. Appreciate you tuning in.
Sean.
Hey, Sean.
And we've got Yeehaw. G'day, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So that brings us up to date for the chat. But yeah, Phil, thank you very much for joining us, Matt. And look, the other thing that makes me even happier that Phil's joining us today is it is of course his birthday. So if we can spam some birthday wishes in the chat for Phil, that'd be
Thank
awesome.
you.
100%.
Just a great way to finish off the day. It's
Welcome,
like
turtles.
it's like the birthday fell on a Monday, but actually it's been a public holiday in Japan today. So I've had a very chilled day with my daughter and been out. It's been a nice sunny day. Been out to the park and just had a nice lazy day. So this is a great way to finish things off by talking some turtles. And actually, I was just on Johnny Sorensen just had a great video as well about I think the 1994 Turtles catalog. So
Yeah.
enjoyed watching a bit of that in the warm up to this stream. So yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah, I caught the end of that. I need to circle back and watch that because there's something about those catalogs that are just, I don't know, man. It was a science the way they made you want everything on those pages.
Oh yeah, and that is a bumper catalog. Like it almost seemed like there was 100 odd pages. There was so much in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
it was a good watch. What I saw, lots of things that you were just like, why did they even think of this? And a lot of it. So
Well, did you say 1994?
Yeah, 1994. I think by the end, Johnny was showing some of the farm turtles, which were, that's a bit of a miss for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's by the time you get to 93 and 94, the line is what are we talking, 5-6 years old? You've got one generation of kids that are probably leaving. They're trying to attract the next one, and just taking advantage of whatever was hot at the time, whether it was things that were transforming or trolls or whatever the case may be. They were just trying it all, and it made for some really cool toys, but it also made for some misses as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Just say a quick hello to a few other people that have joined us. G'day, Steve from the Sunshine Coast. Appreciate you joining us, mate. Nice to see you. Of course.
Welcome.
We've got the KOC boys. G'day,
Hey,
Matt.
Matt.
G'day, Andrew.
How are you,
G'day.
fellas?
And of course, we've got TJC. Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
Hey,
mate.
TJC.
Lots
And
of
we've
happy
got-
birthday
Oh,
messages.
thanks for the birthday
Oh,
wishes, everyone. Oh, you're making me blush.
This will be our
Plenty of
most
birthday
commented
wishes.
on video.
No, it's awesome.
It's not every day you turn 30, buddy. So happy birthday.
That's the one. 30 again. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
always better the second time.
Or the 15th time. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, good stuff, mate. All righty. Well, look, we might kick it off, and I think there's probably, we were chatting about this obviously before we went live because we can't help ourselves. We can't wait. We've got to start getting into it early. But we were talking about it earlier, Phil. So obviously, you, not to rub it in on your birthday, but you're a year or two older than I suppose us here. So your experience of turtles probably means that you've got more vivid memories of actually getting the things and playing with them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
enjoying the films, maybe going to the cinema, all those sorts of things. So I suppose the best place to probably start, mate, is like what your first, what was first for you when it comes to turtles? Did you see the animated series and that captured your imagination and made you want the toys? Did you see the toys and you went at it from the other perspective? Do you remember what it was first for you in New Zealand?
Yeah, I think for me, the Ninja Turtles was quite. It sounds a bit silly. It was quite a big turning point in my childhood because I grew up in a really small town in New Zealand, and when I was 10, this was just before the Turtles sort of came out, sort of 1989. We moved cities to a slightly bigger city in the very south of the South Island called Dunedin. And I remember just before we moved, we had this massive garage sale, and basically our parents said, "You've got to sell all of your toys." So we got rid of everything. So I was big into Masters of the Universe, Transformers, G.I. Joe, but pretty much everything got sold apart from some wrestling figures because we were still mad into WWF wrestling. So we took our LGN figures down to Dunedin. So basically, I got to a new city and basically started from scratch again in terms of buying toys. And it just so happens that was when the Turtles just sort of started to come out. So I sort of restarted the toy phase again, I guess, from scratch. And yeah, the Ninja Turtles were kind of the first figures that I remember buying when we moved into a new city, which was great because it was, I don't know if you guys have ever moved being a kid, but it's not easy, like, leaving all of your best mates behind and starting a new school and trying to make new friends again. So actually the Turtles was great because it was something that, I could sort of talk to the other boys in the class about. And so I think it was probably the toys, I think, were the first things. And then obviously the cartoon as well. I was massively into. And the other thing about moving to a bigger city, in New Zealand, the smaller cities only had 2 TV channels, Channel 1 and Channel 2.
Oh,
and
really?
neither of those 2 channels had the Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles came out on TV3. And so actually before we moved, our parents kind of sold us that if we moved to a bigger city, the bigger city would have Channel 3, which had the Ninja Turtles. So we were like, okay, let's go for it.
That was all you needed to hear.
That's all we needed to hear. So it was perfect timing. It was literally just as the Turtles were coming out in New Zealand. So we just caught the bug as every kid did, back in 1990. And I think for me, because I was a bit older, as I was saying before the show started, the Turtles are probably the Turtles and the Hasbro WWF figures were probably the last 2 lines of toys that I really played with as a kid. So I think for me, the turtle craze was probably more so, going to the movie at the cinema, having birthday parties with all of the, the cups and the plates with, Ninja Turtle merchandise on it and stuff like that. And to be honest, the actual toys themselves were probably a couple of pegs down from that. But we had a range. We had the base. We had the 4 main turtles, and we had Shredder and Splinter and Bebop and Rocksteady. We had the main characters, but yeah, we didn't have a lot more than that actually in terms of the toys themselves. But
that's all you really needed.
Yeah, but
yeah, well, that's what I thought. You know, watching the cartoon, they were the characters that came out on every episode. So yeah, we were pretty happy with having, you know, that sort of 6 to 8 figures for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at least you had all the central characters. Like, I remember my little collection, my childhood collection of Ninja Turtles. I only had 2 turtles, and one of them was my brother's. So it was like, you know, I was lucky if I was able to get, you know, 2 of the turtles together for an adventure. And then I had like Rat King and like just and Krang, but no, like it was just all over the place. You know, I had other action figures that had to stand in as the other turtles and stuff like that. You know, so that's pretty cool that you had all the 4 turtles, had all those central characters as a kid. That's awesome.
I had a few more figures when I was a kid, but I even recall figures that I wasn't even sure if they were a goodie or a baddie. Because I'd either not seen that one episode that they were in and they made a figure of. So yeah, I just made my own imaginary goodies and baddies.
Yeah.
They released a lot of figures, that some figures didn't even make the cartoon. So I didn't really connect with them as much, not nearly as much, because we were mad on the cartoon, so that was the main focal point, and then all of our play was based around that.
So in New Zealand, you said there was only small areas, and you moved to was it a bigger area that you moved to? Like, what were you?
Yeah, it was probably still a small city compared to Australian or American size. It was a university town, 100,000 people or so. But
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's probably the second biggest city in the South Island after Christchurch. So it felt like we were moving to a big city, definitely from where we were coming from.
So what were the toy stores for you? What were you shopping? Where were your parents finding or yourself finding turtles?
We had again, I don't know if you guys had these stores in Australia or not. We had department stores called Farmers, Decker. So they just sold they sold clothing, they sold toys, they sold all sorts of stuff. We had Toy World. Toy World was my big go-to toy shop.
Yeah, Toy World, yeah.
But yeah, we didn't. I don't remember having Toys R Us in New Zealand. Although we had a New Zealand stream in the weekend, and we talked with some other Kiwis, and they reckon that Toys R Us was up in the North Island. But yeah, I don't remember ever seeing a Toys R Us in the South Island.
What about World for Kids? Did any of those make it to New Zealand?
The what? Sorry,
World for Kids.
Nah. Never heard of that, buddy. No.
That was
Did that make it out of New South Wales even, Scotty?
Oh, I don't know. I just remember seeing the commercials. I don't even have any childhood memories of going to World for Kids. It doesn't feel like they were around for all that long here. But
we had a local one at Penrith.
Yeah.
So it was pretty close. Anyone in chat that's in a different state, if they remember World for Kids, shout out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was a great store, but I loved it.
It was good. That was our Toys R Us kind of thing.
G'day, VTR Dave.
How are you, mate?
Ollie's saying he only had one villain, Bebop. Everything else was Turtles variants. So I suppose Bebop was the master villain.
Yeah. I remember always having wacky action turtles to go with my normal 88 turtles, but never the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Bebop was definitely my favorite. He was. I think he was probably maybe the second figure I got, because I must have got, my recollection's a bit vague, but I must have got one of the turtles first, surely. So Michelangelo has always been my favorite, the party dude. So I'm pretty sure I must have got Michelangelo first, and then Bebop would have been the first villain I got. Yeah, I just think he is just the perfect looking figure. That punk look.
You said a lot of yours were sold. Are these figures that you have now? Is any of them your childhood? Did any survive?
No. Our family, we moved so many bloody times. So yeah, we bought the figures when we moved to Dunedin, and then they would have got sold off again. Probably, I'd hate to say it, maybe 2 or 3 years after that. Once we hit high school and teenage years, those toys would have been long gone. So No, I don't have any childhood figures in my collection, unfortunately.
Ollie's saying he used to go to Woolworths for his Hero Turtle figures. I still find the whole Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles thing such a novelty. You know, when you see UK merch and it's got the Hero Turtles branding. I mean, it's because I don't know, as a kid when I thought of the Turtles, I didn't call it TMNT. I didn't call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just called it Ninja Turtles. You know, that was like kind of just how it was known. You know, as a kid, you know, you abbreviate things. I think even in the TV guide, it would just say Ninja Turtles. But
yeah,
it's so bizarre to think of it as Hero Turtles. You know, it's interesting.
It's hard to sort of get my head around that the phrase Ninja Turtles was so, you know, what was so offensive about it.
Yeah, but even just those two words together are just like they go together like peanut butter and jelly. You know, Ninja Turtles to sub out Ninja is just it's just very strange to me. But I suppose at least in the UK they got the turtles. It was just the ninja part that they had the drama with.
I bet you like Kevin Eastman and Peter Lau have never said openly what they thought about that, but I bet you they have their own thoughts because theirs was Ninja Turtles. So for them to change it, that would have been very frustrating.
No, very, very true. Like it would be one thing for sort of, you know, animation studios or toy companies to try to soften the edges, but it would be another thing altogether to just change the name of it.
Yeah.
So I can imagine it would be, it'd be interesting to know what their thoughts were on that.
Yeah, and that was like the pinnacle of that creation. When they first drew that first turtle, it was all about that name together. So yeah, must have been very frustrating, but I'm sure the paychecks helped.
There's more cut about the nunchucks. But
yeah, I know the nunchucks being probably the coolest weapon being taken away as well, which it's interesting. VTR Dave, yes, very off topic, mate, but I did see that video and it was very cool to see all those smack ups at Sandown. That's awesome.
It's a great video. Yeah, I just caught that as well.
Yeah,
mate. VTR Dave kills it with the Toy Fair hunts, and Sandown looks like an absolute cracker of an event for sure.
Well, we saw one. That was it.
We did, yeah. We saw a carded one at Caulfield, and Lobos had a bunch as well. So, yeah, I mean, there was a time in my collecting where I'd go from one year to the next without seeing any, but we definitely saw a few in Melbourne, which was cool. So sorry. So just on Johnny's point here. So Phil, obviously Johnny's, you know, lucky enough to have all of his childhood TMNT figures, which is amazing. Deano, I know like a big chunk of your TMNT collection is obviously those childhood survivors, which is mad. I think I probably only had maybe 9 or 10 Turtles figures, but thankfully I still managed to hang on to them, and they form the starting point of my collection now. But Phil, were you saying that yours all went in childhood? Was it another one of those Trigger family garage sales? I mean, do you know?
I think so. I think we were big on garage sales. I think they were fairly popular back in the day. So you know,
they were.
Most Saturdays down, you know, on your street, you'd have a couple of households, you know, opening up their garages and selling off their stuff. It was just a common, like they were fun to go to too. Like, you know, I remember getting the Saturday morning newspaper and trudging along, you know, around the neighborhood with my mum sometimes and buying stuff. So they're fun to go to. But yeah, definitely my parents got amongst it as well and found opportunities to make a few bucks out of our toys.
I remember a lot of garage sales back in the 90s, and you had those like safety houses. So there was really no stranger danger in the 90s. It was like just invite everyone over. Now you have to do dodgy Facebook Marketplace things at Macca's just to feel safe.
For sure. And I've told this story before, but truth be told, my childhood collection of turtles that are still in my collection, thankfully, when I found them, they were in a shoebox, and that shoebox had garage sale $10 written on it. So just by some stroke of fortune, they were, you know, on the chopping block at a garage sale, and thankfully no one decided to part with a tenner for them, which I'm very grateful for. What's that?
Did you keep the box?
Oh, I think I would have, mate. I'm pretty nostalgic, so I'm sure that box is still somewhere. Yeah.
But in saying all of that, though, I don't remember being heartbroken that, you know, my parents we're really selling this stuff off because, again, when the Turtles were out, I was maybe 11 or 12, and honestly, I was sort of phasing out of playing with toys, and I sort of got into the Sega, playing consoles and collecting like basketball. I remember basketball trading cards just blew up big time in the early 90s. So all of our pocket money and stuff just got redirected in a completely different direction. So, maybe my parents even gave us a bit of money from what they sold off in the garage sales, and we just funneled it and wasted it on something else like trading cards or computer games. So it was just the stage that I was at. But now, obviously, looking back, I'm like, but, obviously at the time we didn't think of that.
No, I suppose at that stage of your sort of late childhood, early adolescence, it wouldn't have upset you as much. But what about if we go back to when you were living in the smaller town and all the Transformers and Joes went? Like, do you remember at that moment being because I was curious when you were talking about that. Like, was that a struggle for you even back then?
That was a bit tougher. Yeah. I think it was more tougher that we were saying goodbye to a lot of our close buddies because, again, living in a smaller town, like all of our best friends lived on the same street, and we would go and play. We would play with our toys mostly outside, on the streets or in the neighborhood park and stuff like that. So I think it was more that disconnection of saying bye to them. And I think we would have been pretty gutted that the toys were going as well because we would have been 9. I've got a younger brother as well who's about 18 months younger than me, so I think we probably were a bit gutted basically that we were moving. But luckily we had the Ninja Turtles on TV to look forward to in the next place.
Channel 3, so there you go.
Channel 3 saved the day. They saved my parents, that's for sure. I
love it.
G'day, Shanko.
Actually, now that I think of it, when we moved to the bigger city as well, and I've talked to Johnny Sorensen about this as well because he grew up in the South Island of New Zealand. We had the live show of the Ninja Turtles that toured around. So it was a live stage show. I'm sure you must have had it in Australia as well. And I didn't know this at the time. Apparently, each country had its own cast and people working on it. So we had our own sort of Kiwi version of the Ninja Turtles live stage show. And again, because we were in a bigger city, it came to Dunedin, and I do remember going to the Dunedin Town Hall with my younger brother and my cousin to see that, and that just blew us away. That was just amazing.
There has to be some camcorder footage of this show somewhere.
Apparently, Johnny also, he's a good source of information. Johnny has also found a YouTube clip of one of the live stage shows from the Auckland show, I think, which is pretty funny to look at because some of the costuming was a bit, obviously if you compare it to the movie, it's a few levels down in terms of quality, but it's a pretty funny look.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if we had.
Did you have it in Australia or?
I'm sure we would have, Deano.
Sure, nothing to my memory, and I haven't looked it up or stumbled across it.
No.
But
maybe you fellas were too young when it went around.
Yeah,
I think it was 1990 or 1991 when it sort of did the tour.
I was pretty total crazy, but I don't remember. Or maybe my parents would just hid it from me because it cost too much. Wasn't enough money after all the toys to take me somewhere.
Like, you'd think Sydney is too big a market for it not to be brought here or not to be toured here, but I don't have any memories of it either.
Maybe there.
Yeah.
The only memories I have are Dino's picture where the guy's in a big costume and that sort of stuff. But I don't remember a stage show, but I'd say there would have been. If New Zealand got it, we would have definitely got it.
I'm just going to do a quick Google.
While you do that, Deano, Matt's got a question here for you. Like, when if you cast your mind back to when you were playing with the Turtles, when you were at the peak of that sort of childhood hype cycle for the Turtles toys, was there one that you wanted and didn't? Was there one that you didn't have and you wanted most? And that's actually kind of a cool question for the other boys here. Maybe Deano doesn't have one because I get the sense that he probably had most of them, but I've definitely got one that I would have loved that I didn't have.
Yeah, Matt with the tough questions. I think for me, again, because me and my brother were obsessed with the cartoon, I think it would have been Krang in the android body. That would have been the one that we would have loved to have had. We may have had the stock standard one with the strange
Walker.
The Walker, yeah. We
yeah.
may have had that. I can't quite remember, but we definitely didn't have the android body, which was how we saw him in the cartoon. So that would have been the one I'm sure that we would have wanted for sure.
Yeah, that's a good pick. What about you, Dan?
I was pretty blindsided with Turtles. Like, I got the first 10 or whatever, and I thought that's what there was. I didn't really even think about like other ones. And then obviously video games came into it, so I got over Turtles like within the next couple of years. So I just played with those 10. And that's all I thought it was. Okay, but if I knew about Killer Surf and Mikey, I would have been onto that for sure.
There you go.
But, yeah.
What about you, Deano?
I didn't hear the question. Sorry. That was the question on the screen.
The question's on the screen. Yeah.
I don't know. I had a few.
You had them all.
I had a few of them, so I don't really know.
Okay, well, I mean, the obvious ones for me is obviously the Turtles that I didn't have because I had Raph and Donnie, and I had a wacky action Leo that I even as a kid I didn't like. I was like, no, he's not one of the crew. Like, he was left out in the cold a little bit. So the obvious answer is like a Michelangelo or the other two Turtles. But fresh off the movie, I really wanted the Casey Jones figure, even though Casey Jones didn't play much of a part in the animated series. Just from seeing the original 1990 film, I badly wanted the Casey Jones figure. That's like the one that stands out in my memory.
Wow.
So you obviously, sorry, go Dan.
No, you go.
So Phil, like obviously with your age group, when you went to you were able to remember the actual shops, because I don't remember any of the shop fronts as a kid, like seeing Turtles on the shelf and that, because I was just getting bought for birthday, Christmas, stuff like that. And I was only 4 or 5 years old. But so you remember the actual walking into a store and seeing the whole shelf stacked with Turtles?
Yeah, I do. I've got actually it sort of ties on to Matt's question as well. I think I really remember seeing the vehicles in store, and that's another thing that our parents, I guess, probably more for financial we didn't really get the vehicles, but I remember as a kid I was obsessed with the blimp. And that's one that I always like more so than like the Party Wagon or the Technodrome even. Again, it's probably based on the cartoon. I really wanted to get the blimp, and I remember seeing the boxes and stuff in store for sure, and just sort of, but it never happened. But again, probably the toy stores and the toy departments and the department stores probably weren't as big as say Australia even. So definitely remember seeing stuff, but it wasn't mind blowing, but
still it would have been mind blowing as a kid.
Definitely seeing the boxes of the vehicles and knowing that I probably wouldn't be getting any of them. It was just cool to see in the store for sure.
Just before we say hi to a few other people, I'm going back to the stage show for Australia. I can't find anything, and the Google search does come up. Like the Google search comes up with the New Zealand stage show first, and I was searching specifically. And I think there was a comment there where like people would go to just like the malls and that, and there would be little like turtle meet and greets where they'd be all dressed up in their uniform. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, and this was a Operation Blue Line from Southern California, rapid transport. Can you guys see that?
Hang on, let me.
This is a live action.
All right.
Live action thing that rapid transport in Southern California, district to allow kids and teach them about different travel methods, like using the railway safely and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Now they had a drug one too, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I didn't find the Australian one, and I will do more research. I just found something else I never knew existed. Yeah, man.
That could be a win for New Zealand then.
Aussies got lazy, mate. They just wanted to do meet and greets.
Yeah. The other funny thing as well, I remember the Turtles sort of saying, they was like, "Kia ora, everyone." Like they even got them saying a few Maori words and stuff. It was,
that's cool.
It was so cool. Yeah.
We
thought it was awesome.
Just makes it feel like they're there and part of your culture. It's great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Out of the sewers of New Zealand.
Exactly. Let's say good day to some more champions in the chat. We've got Valo all the way from Finland.
Hey, Valo.
How are you, Valo? Thank you for joining in.
Yeah, appreciate you joining in. We've got Hiro Ishiguro. G'day.
Yeah, konnichiwa. That sounds like a Japanese name.
It certainly does. Yeah, we've got Zazel.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you, mate.
How are you, buddy?
Zazel's just popped in to wish you a happy birthday, Phil.
He knows that.
Oh, you're 30, damn. Getting younger by the minute, mate.
He'll be back in school.
I'll be 20. I'll be 20 next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
we got a question here, and I'm sorry, I'm skipping over a couple of messages in the chat. I've fallen behind, but we've got a message here from Yeehaw. Do you remember the yogurt commercial, Phil?
The yogurt commercial. I remember there being Ninja Turtle yogurt. So like there was Ninja Turtle everything, right? Like corn chips, pizzas, all sorts. I don't remember the commercial, to be honest. I definitely remember. I remember the food. I remember eating a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to ask you, Phil. Like, obviously, we've spoken about the cartoon on Channel 3, and obviously your experience picking up the toys, seeing them in toy store shelves. But were there sort of other, like as a kid, were there other sort of touch points in popular culture in New Zealand? Like, we've spoken a lot here about obviously the trading cards that they did. In mobile service stations here in Australia, they had little pullback toy cars. Obviously, they had the Pizza Hut tie-in toys. Like, were there other things that when you think of? Oh, I mean, we've also spoken about like the collectible medals that you'd pick up from the newsagents with the Sunday paper. Were there things like that you're nostalgic for when you think?
Definitely. Like New Zealand's big on ice cream, and Tip Top is a big New Zealand ice cream maker, and I distinctly remember the green-headed turtles on a stick. Made by Tip Top. I'm sure you had something similar in Australia as well, but definitely remember buying those at the local dairy at the corner shop.
Did they have like a gumball? Because like the what was ours?
We had a Buffalo Bill. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was very. It basically resembled a Buffalo Bill, but it was a turtle color one.
And we also had the Agro's Cartoon Connection ice cream. The Agro ice cream that also had that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
That's brutal watching these days. How was that on TV? Crazy.
I know.
What about collecting other turtle stuff? Did you collect the cards and like get the gum out of them and enjoy that?
Yeah, I definitely remember collecting the cards. Yeah, probably the movie cards. I remember collecting those. I mean, collecting cards was massive. I remember me and my brother and my friends were just mad. All sorts of collecting cards. Not just Ninja Turtles, but basketball trading cards. All of those sort of early 90s movies that came out had card series as well, sort of Ghostbusters and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely we did have a big collection of the cards. And I just remember a lot of birthday parties, just Ninja Turtles everywhere. Just so many Ninja Turtle themed parties. It was ridiculous.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Shit, yeah.
Did you ever have a turtle party? Did you?
I'm sure we did. Yeah, I'm sure we would have had the paper plates and cups and stuff. Yeah. I don't think we had a dress up Ninja Turtle party, but we had all of the other stuff.
Did you have the costume as a kid at all? Did you ever have that little turtle costume?
Oh, yeah.
Most kids.
Nah, I think maybe we may have ripped some of Mum's old clothes and made our own bandana and stuff like that. Homemade sort of stuff.
Nice.
Maybe grabbed a stick out of the garage and used it as Donatello's staff or something.
Oh, that's exact. I remember doing that. Just using the broom handle as the bow staff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
The
great.
Christmas cardboard.
I can't keep up with these comments either.
No, I know. I mean,
Are they-
neither
Yeah,
can
the
I.
chat's going nuts. Yeah, lots of
I
nostalgia.
love
Love
it.
you,
And
Phil.
yeah, look, just a big shout out to everybody in the chat for getting so involved. I mean, we absolutely love it. I'm sorry if we're not getting to everybody's comments, but you know, we appreciate everybody getting involved and sharing those stage show and sort of actors in costume appearances at the cinema and at the shopping centers. I mean, in fact, Dino, you've got a photo with someone in a Turtles costume at a video store. So obviously, regardless of whether it was like a proper stage production or not, it seems like during that era, like someone being at a shop to make a promotional appearance in a turtle costume was just par for the course.
Yeah, I think they were big in malls and places like that where they just have little stage shows or little meet and greets where you could go and just hug a costume turtle and things like that.
Definitely. Definitely.
Which is
So
fantastic.
just one more thing that I wanted to touch on when we talked your sort of childhood experience of Turtles, Phil, was the movies, mate. Like, do you remember seeing any of those original live action films at the cinema? Do you have video store memories? Did you own any of them on VHS? Like, you know, what stands out about those when you think back?
Definitely the standout would be the first movie. And again, it's just due to my age. It was probably one of the first movies I went to without my parents. So, yeah, I remember going with my cousin to the first Ninja Turtle movie. And again, it was just so perfectly made for cinema, right? Like just set in a dark, dingy environment and, you know, the lights out in a big cinema. Yeah, I remember being excited for weeks before going to see it, and it definitely didn't disappoint. Yeah, that just turned up the love of Ninja Turtles, you know, tenfold after seeing that movie, for sure.
Oh, big time. Well, it certainly did for me as well. Like it definitely reinforced my fandom of Turtles. Like it's interesting, you know, that movie came along in 1990 at sort of like that the you know, that first kind of peak wave, you know, 1990. It probably could have gone the other way if it wasn't such an outstanding movie. I mean, we'd all been watching the show in animated form after school and had just fallen in love with the characters in that format. And you know, it was so different, but everybody seems to, you know, any fan of the franchise seems to love that 1990 film and have just a ton of nostalgia for it.
Yeah, and it still holds up, you know, like.
Agreed.
I can still watch it now and enjoy it, whereas there's probably some other 80s properties where I'd watch it now and kind of cringe a bit. But I think the only thing I remember being slightly disappointed about when I left the movie was that Bebop and Rocksteady weren't in the movie, because you know, they were my favorite knuckleheads. Like especially Bebop, I absolutely love Bebop, and not seeing him in the movie, and I guess I don't know, I must have been expecting to see him, but. You're not seeing him or Rocksteady. I was just like, you know, I was a bit deflated about that. But apart from that, the rest of it was amazing.
But the cool thing about that era was, and I don't mean to be as much as I pretty much always am that guy now, I don't mean to be the guy that was like, you know, back in our day, everything was better. But when you went to the cinema back then, you hadn't seen 6 versions of a trailer on YouTube. You hadn't seen spoilers. We watch movies with such little, like we might have only seen a poster and that's literally it. You know what I mean? We might not have even seen that.
Exactly.
So there was something so cool about that, because whether it was for good or bad, whether it was for a little bit of disappointment or whether it was just for like an over-the-top reaction, you went into a lot more movies blind like that, which I think made for a pretty special experience.
I think it was better.
Yeah. I think so. G'day, Ens.
Yeah, Ens.
What's going on,
Appreciate you joining us, mate.
See you.
Alrighty, so I suppose if we pivot now, Phil, obviously, and I'm sure we'll circle back to some childhood stuff, but you know, again, as you know, as was the case for you growing up in New Zealand, you know, you experienced this stuff sort of differently to us, and nowadays, as a collector living in Japan, I mean, Japan is probably, there's a few. I mean, there's you know, Deano and I were lucky enough to go interstate and do a toy hunt, you know, the weekend before last. And there's overseas places I'd love to hit. You know, I'd love to go to the US and do some toy hunting there, do a road trip there. You know, watching VTR Dave's Sandown Toy Fair video this afternoon, it's like the UK looks unreal, but Japan is also sort of on equal footing to me as somewhere that I'd love to go and do toy hunting. I mean, places like Mandarake are like chains dedicated to selling old toys. I mean, that to me is just like magical here in Australia, where we don't have the same sort of volume of places to go check out outside of toy fairs. So, mate, what's it like there for you? I mean, I know, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you sort of discovered the passion for collecting while you're already in Japan, right? So you don't necessarily have that same basis of comparison to New Zealand, but I suppose for turtles, what's it like over there?
It's good. It's a bit odd in terms of you cannot find, I don't know what the reason is, but it's very hard to find any vintage TMNT in store. So that shop you mentioned, Mandarake, which is the biggest, it's like a chain. It's an unbelievable store, and it's almost got everything that you could imagine, both sort of Japanese line toys as well as Western line stuff. But for whatever reason, like coming across Ninja Turtle stuff, it just doesn't happen very often at all. But when you go online, when you go to places which are similar to eBay or, you know, the Japanese versions of those kind of websites, there's a ton of Ninja Turtles that people sell, you know, on the resale market. So I'm not sure why that's the case, because in other lines like Star Wars, you see a lot of Star Wars in shop. Motu and G.I. Joe are very minor over here. Obviously, there's a ton of Transformers online and in store. But there is a lot of Ninja Turtles, but I don't know, for whatever reason, you don't find it in store. You find it online where you know, people are selling off their collections and stuff. So that's where I bought 99% of my Ninja Turtle collection online from sort of Japanese eBay type websites.
It's interesting.
Weird. I don't know why that's the case, but it's the only line where it sort of works out like that. It's very strange.
So do you get more of the modern, like say 97 upwards lines? Do you see that in store more, or is it just
no, you don't, honestly, man. You don't see any Ninja Turtles in store. Like even the new re-release stuff, which has you know, been coming out the last couple of years, mainstream stores don't stock it. I don't really get it, which is weird, because, you know, I'm a teacher, and even when I talk to some of the kids at school, they've all heard of Ninja Turtles, but you just can't buy it in store. It's just weird, really weird.
That is strange. You think like if they're not selling it, it's a selling point that they're obviously not being able to sell it, so they're not going to stock it. But well, that sounds
unless it's a secret underground store that I've never heard of, which is just, you know, a Ninja Turtle mecca. I've never come across it. I will say that the Mutations line is quite readily available over here. I've mentioned it a few times in my videos that it's a line that I had no idea about as a kid, because I think Mutations may have came out 93 or 94. So I didn't follow that stuff when I was growing up, but oh man, there is a ton of the Mutation stuff over here. So I've got probably as many Mutations figures in my collection as I do sort of that mainstream Playmates, you know, the more basic figures. So
with this comment here from Hero, this saying the TMNT and G.I. Joe stuff that you were just saying, but the Star Wars and that, are we talking vintage Star Wars, or are we talking modern Star Wars?
All sorts, vintage, Power of the Force, modern, it's all all the Star Wars that you want is over here.
I'm hearing woo.
Of course, it sounds like Heroes in Japan. Then he is.
Yeah,
nice.
Heroes in Japan.
So, do you have any cool items that you picked up from the Japan black market?
The black market.
There's Matt from Kidney Collecting calling it.
A few things to that I can flash about if you like.
Yeah.
So,
hello.
So we've got the Super Turtles here.
Oh, that's so cool.
They're like 96, aren't they? 96, 97?
So yeah, 95 on the back, so yeah, maybe released in 96.
Yeah, see, that would be difficult to find over here in Australia.
Yeah. And again, when I started out
awesome.
collecting, I would have never thought that I'd start being interested in stuff like this, but I think I'm at a point now is I might as well pick this sort of stuff up while I'm in Japan, because I don't know how long I don't know if Japan's going to be forever or not, but there's no way in heck I'd ever be able to pick up something like this in New Zealand, that's for sure. So
no, but see, Phil, if I was to go to Japan to do a toy hunting trip, that would be the exact type of turtle stuff that I would hope to come home with. I mean, it's like this is a really interesting comment from Nate. You have to wonder if in Japan back in the day there was a reluctance to stock Playmates toys as they were a fleggling Chinese toy company. That's interesting. I'd never even that had never occurred to me, but it's interesting because Playmates.
He's a deep thinker, that Nate.
He certainly is. He certainly is.
Yeah. See, Ollie wants that.
Yeah, that's a cool piece. I mean, they do go for silly prices. You just as with anything online, you get lucky sometimes, and if you jump online at a particular time of day and nobody else has seen it, and someone's selling something and they have no idea the real value of it, you can pick up some ridiculous bargains. But
And just a question on that note. So when you find that sort of turtle stuff in Japan, is it Bandai branded? Is it Playmates? Like, who is it that
this has got a Takara.
Oh, Takara.
Playmates Takara, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
such cool box art.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it's pretty neat. Yeah.
You've had big pickups as well. Like you had a video where you picked up a sack of
yeah. So I'm fairly late to the toy collecting game. Like I think it's maybe similar to Scotty. Like I pretty much started as COVID kicked in, like when the lockdown started, and I was just stuck at home, sort of twiddling my thumbs and finding something to keep myself occupied. And I just sort of stumbled. Basically, it's not something I ever thought I'd get into. I sort of stumbled across vintage toys and stuff. So I've made my Ninja Turtle collection fairly quickly by literally 2 massive bulk lots that I purchased. And one of them had about 30 odd figures and the other had close to 50. And I got my collection pretty quickly. I mean, a lot of my stuff is incomplete. I've got a lot of figures which don't have accessories, and some have got a few of the accessories. Now I'm starting to be a bit more picky and trying to find things to fill in gaps, and which is a good thing because it's actually slowed me down a lot more, because the first couple of years I was just going absolutely bananas, and everything that I saw was like, buy.
Where the fun is.
Yeah. And then you look at your bank account and you're like, oh shit. And then,
a lot of people would have that story, especially around COVID.
Yeah. So I've slowed down, but I think the quality of the stuff I'm picking up now is probably a bit better.
So there must you got Star Wars Celebration coming in 2 months? So there must be a mountain of collectors and people heading to Japan, about to raid every one of these. So
I would say so. Yeah. A lot of the Star Wars is going to be taken off off the shelves pretty soon, I think. Yeah.
I just want to say a quick hello to Jeff Holt. G'day, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff's got all the boxed mutations, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Especially
I know VTR Dave is keen at some stage to get over there to Japan.
Yeah.
So hopefully, look, if Japan is not forever for you, Phil, hopefully by the time I get over there, you're still there, because it'd be an absolute
Well, if you come over, if I'm not, then I'll come over anyway and meet
There
you.
we go.
Tell us the underground.
A good excuse to come back over. Yeah.
Question here from Yeehaw: are toys more expensive in Japan over New Zealand? And look, I would imagine it varies because I know, Phil, obviously you get back to New Zealand quite regularly, and I know that in your videos you've shared how you've sort of ordered things to New Zealand. So I would imagine that there's some things that are cheaper and easier to come by in New Zealand, and vice versa in Japan.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It depends what you're after. I think in Japan, if you want to get complete stuff with sort of nice packaging still in good nick, then definitely Japan is the place to be. The collectors just, I guess, look after their stuff a bit better. But you pay, for G1 Transformers, you'd think that Transformers would be cheap in Japan, but no way, they are bloody expensive. So the Ninja Turtle stuff is relatively, I think, reasonably priced. Like, I often pick up good figures, relatively rare-ish figures for like $20 or $30, which I think is pretty good going. But yeah, it depends what you're into. Obviously, in New Zealand, the availability of stuff is way more limited, a lot more so than Australia. So, it's not really a competition at all. It's maybe it's the toy collecting that's keeping me in Japan for the time being, because I know it will be a massive shock to go back to New Zealand and have sort of that limited availability of what I can get.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Japan, though, like I know you're pretty fortunate insofar as there's stores that specialize in vintage toys, multiple stores. Obviously, Mandarake is a chain, but what about toy fairs and collector events? Have you come across any of those in Japan?
I haven't actually been to anything like that yet. It's something I live about an hour out of Tokyo, so it's just a matter of me trying to organize myself to get into those things. But yeah, I'm sure that they're good things to go to as well. But yeah, for the time being, I've just sort of been going to the stores in Tokyo, and definitely Tokyo. If you do come to Japan, obviously Tokyo is the place to go to do your toy hunting, because that's they have entire districts. Like there's an area called Akihabara, and it's basically the pop culture district of Tokyo. And so you've got shops and department stores everywhere, with your comic books and your toys and you name it, it's got
awesome.
it.
That's awesome. Amazing. A district dedicated to pop culture.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a dream.
Yeah. I mean, you see why tourists come over. Tourists come over with the one plan to toy hunt, basically. So
that's wild.
Toy Poloi, I think he makes an annual trip to Japan. I think he's coming again in April. So this time I've been bugging him a bit to meet up with him, and I think he's finally crumbled, and I think he's agreed to catch up with me this time around. So that'll be fun catching up with him.
I was going to ask if you were going to meet up with a bunch of like collectors and YouTubers and that, and just have a bit of a hangout.
Yeah, I think there are a couple that are coming over for Star Wars Celebration, so that'll be cool. And old Zazel in the chat there, he's popping over to Japan in April as well. So
very cool.
That'll be good fun catching up with him. Yeah,
that'd be a blast.
Just some comments that are there, and going back to that figure you showed. There was a animated TV show for Japan that was short run, so I don't know if you can see that one, but
hang on, let me just
Super Turtles or something like that.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's basically the figure you're showing, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah,
that last block.
Yeah, the Sentai. Yeah. Yep.
So
same guys.
That was a short-lived. I don't even know how many episodes. It was really short-lived, but I think there was another comment there saying that maybe the Turtles cartoon didn't do well.
That's what Matt was speculating. The cartoon got minimal exposure on TV in Japan, so maybe that crept into the toy line as well.
Well, that's kind of the conclusion I've made as well. Actually, is I can't understand why the earlier stuff is not available, but then you've got so much mutations and stuff. I'm just assuming that turtles sort of just caught fire here a couple of years later than Western countries, whether or not it was to do
you think
subtitling or translating into Japanese or something.
But like, you think Transformers mutations?
Yeah,
must have loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Possible why?
We've got Adam from Go Figure joining us. G'day, Adam.
I'll be in Canada. I'll be in Canada soon, Adam. Don't you worry.
There we go.
Yeah,
and a great suggestion from Nate here.
Yeah, that is a great idea. Yeah, actually, my dream job is to just be a toy mule, just to carry toys between New Zealand and Japan. Just do it full time.
just to see the smiles on people's faces.
Yeah, just like be a Santa Claus. Yeah,
wearing baggy clothes and they're all strapped to your body.
Have them all strapped to my chest. Yeah.
What about VTR Dave's question there? I'm actually interested.
That is a good question.
Oh, the strange. Jesus.
To get dangerous.
You're dangerous with non-toy related.
Yeah. There is a lot of stuff.
Stay in the toy district.
Yeah. You'll probably see in one of my videos, I did go to Aki Harbour. It's actually a video that's done really well for me. It's had a lot of views. And in the video, I kind of I made an honest mistake on my sort of Google Maps and found my way into a shop, which basically just had nude model figures, of the nude dolls, basically. And you go into those stores and you see all of the the middle-aged businessmen in their suits sort of drooling all over these figures, and you're just like, oh my god, what is happening here? So there's no shortage of things like that. And then of course and then you've got the vending machines which sell all sorts of random bits of underwear and that kind of thing. So
is that really a thing?
Yeah.
I've never seen it myself, but I heard if you go to particular districts and parts of town, then you can come across it. I'm a good boy. I stay out of those places.
Smart man.
Did this place feature in one of your hunts, Phil? I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't
yeah. You met right. I go in there and then I do a U-turn very, very quickly. It's a quick.
Love it.
Quick U-turn.
I love that you left it in there, but
it's a mistake I've made twice a week. Yeah. Yeah. It's Japan, like Tokyo especially. It's a great place to get lost. Like, if you can imagine all of the wee back streets and side streets, and I think that's the funnest thing about Japan is just the absolute randomness of it. Like, you honestly never know what you're going to come across, toy-wise or cultural-wise, or things that will. You often think Japanese people are very, sort of above board and polite and sensible, but if you go out into the nightlife and you go to certain districts, you'll see everything.
Love it.
Yeah,
of course. I did remember one of your videos. You were wandering around trying to find the place, and then you stopped at Macca's, and then you took us through that, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, you do get a bit homesick for the comforts of home, like McDonald's. Yeah.
So you said you've been collecting since 2019, pretty much, Phil. So
probably maybe 2020, 2021. Yeah.
So since that time, what's one item, and it doesn't have to be turtle related, that you've got that you remember from a childhood you didn't get it, or you did have it, that's just gave you that biggest nostalgia here? Like,
man,
be a G.I. Joe, anything.
A
hard one, I know.
Dude, that's a good question. I think turtle-wise, I picked up those the what do you call them? The party tube and the army tube. Those the small single figure tubes. Yeah, as I said earlier, we didn't have many vehicles, but we definitely had those two, and because they're probably a bit smaller and a bit more affordable. But I remember me and my brother had heaps of bath time fun with those, and when I came across those, that brought back a massive nostalgic hit for me with those. Yeah, they're great. They're awesome. So yeah, they those two sit proudly on the TMNT shelf.
That's a good one.
And I think most people know I'm a big Dino Riders fan as well. So again, for whatever reason, Dino Riders was released in Japan, the first series. So I've been lucky enough to pick up a healthy collection of Dino Riders, and that's one of my absolute favorite toy lines. So again, picking up a couple of those figures has been a big, a good rush for me as well.
Awesome.
Well, mate, if that's the case, I would definitely continue picking them up as long as you're in Japan, because they are not an easy. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine New Zealand's probably similar to Australia, and they're not an easy line at all to collect here. They're very difficult.
Yeah. And the cool thing is the box. You know, if you can pick them up in box, the box art is completely different from the Western one. So instead of the artwork, they actually use the actual figures themselves in like sort of a diorama setting. So that's another thing that I've really enjoyed is, you know, these toy lines which I have nostalgia for and that I had as a kid, but you see them over here in the packaging and the box art, and even just, you know, you seeing the Japanese font on the boxes is pretty awesome. Like these mutations here, I think the Western, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Mutations Western releases were just brought out on a bubble car. I'm not sure if they were brought out in these.
We had them as well. There was both.
Okay.
I think it was like the second wave of them came out in the boxes, like April, Shredder, those ones.
Yeah. But again, just all the Japanese on the backs. It's just something a bit different, you know. It's familiar, but it's different as well. So that gives me a bit of a kick.
So how would you say the Phil's total collection is? Like, are you collecting? So like, I know Scotty and I we try to stick to some sort of plan or years, but is it just what you see and what you like you get, or is there
I think initially it was getting those basic figures. So again, going back to my childhood, okay, I need my Splinter, I need my Shredder, I need the four brothers, obviously, and then it's just, you know, I had these boundaries at the beginning, and then the boundaries have just sort of started to disappear a bit. The other thing that I've really enjoyed picking up is the Metal Mutants.
Oh, nice!
Oh, wow, yeah.
Was complete.
I've just broken them. No. So yeah, these things again. These are not things that I knew anything about growing up, and I'd only sort of came across them a couple of years ago. So this is Donnie. I think this is Lion Spirit armor. He's not complete, and I've also got a Raph. The Phoenix armor. So are these shiny things.
Wow. Yeah.
Again, if you'd asked me when I started collecting, would I collect stuff like this, I would have been like, nah, I'll stick with the mainline stuff. But again, when you see it online and the price is reasonable, you're just like, oh man, I've got to grab it. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like those figures look so far removed from what I think of when I think of a Teenage Ninja Turtle, and when I think of my childhood experience with the toys, it's so different. But at the same time, it's that collector bug. You know, you say, "Oh no, I just want to get the recognizable," and then next minute you're collecting this stuff, and we all do it. You know what I mean? I love it. Like Deano said, you know, I want to try to get all the figures from the first 5 waves, but I continually break those rules by finding other things that I like.
I know. Yeah. I've just picked up my latest TMNT pickup. It hasn't arrived in the post yet. Is the cave series with the dinosaurs? I've picked up Raphael. I didn't get the dinosaur, but I got the Raphael figure. So I think the thing with Ninja Turtles, once you get one of the turtles, you're like, I've got to complete the set now. I've got to get all 4. So you get stuck in the cycle.
That is so true.
You can't just have Donatello and Leonardo. You got to get the other 2 boys as well. So.
Do you feel yourself as a bit of a completionist when it comes to the turtles? Is there
not with the turtles, because it's just so wide. I can just see it's an impossible challenge for me. And I do love my turtles, but I've got even more nostalgia for things like Masters of the Universe. I'm probably more of a completionist. And with Motu, like, each figure only has 1 or 2 accessories, whereas with the turtles, obviously, some of the figures have just got ridiculous amounts of accessories. So I'm not so worried about being completing everything, but definitely happy to keep adding to the collection for sure.
Yeah, nice. I mean, there's no end in sight when it comes to vintage TMNT, but it's so funny what you say, mate, about like once you get one of the turtles in a series, you need the others, because like I've made videos where I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not going down the road of collecting all these things, but then I'll get a lot and I'll pick one up, or I'll be like, oh, that's a complete figure at a nice price, and then I'll be like, well, now I just need to chase the other 3, and it just doesn't stop. It's so
it's
funny.
Bloody smart. I reckon they had that, and that's why they keep releasing the turtles, in all sorts of different variations of them, because they knew, right? If you get one, you got to get all 4.
Exactly.
Best marketing strategy ever.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got the Farmer's Turtle. I remember picking that up for like $10.
Oh, at Collecticon, you got the Mikey with the tractor.
Oh, right. You're falling down that hole.
I was looking at him. I was like, I don't really want to. And Scott's going, it's $10. If you put it down, I'm going to buy it. And I'm like, all right, I'll get it.
It's what we do. We enable one another. We encourage one another to make poor decisions.
That's definitely what we do.
G'day, Simon.
Simon, mate. How are you?
Hey, Simon.
Hope you're well, mate.
It's good chatting with you in Melbourne, buddy.
It's interesting, though, how we all have such a similar experience. We're in different parts of the world, obviously. We're collecting slightly different things, but we all fall into these same collecting traps and have these same collecting habits. So, Phil, is there, I suppose, when it comes to turtles, are there things that you're sort of really on the search for at the moment, whether it's a figure, a vehicle, a weapon to complete a figure you've already got? Are there things that are sort of at the top of your hunt list when it comes to turtles at the moment?
Not really. I think the blimp has been up there as something I've always wanted. So I've just got, I don't know what it is. I've just always loved that vehicle. I mean, it's a bit, if you think about it, it's a bit ridiculous what it is, but I just, I never had it as a kid. I think my cousin had it, and I remember going to my cousin's place and just absolutely loving it. I think that's probably where my nostalgia for it comes from. So that's always been up there as something that I've really wanted to get. And then, with that bulk lot of figures, I guess, trying to pick up accessories here and there to make some of them a bit more complete would be handy.
Yeah.
But apart from that, no, I'm pretty stoked with how the Ninja Turtle collection's coming along.
Well, mate, you should be stoked because as anyone who watches your channel will know, like you've had some great finds. Like the most recent one that comes to mind for me is the carded half court you picked up at the price.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
Please tell me that thing is still carded.
You ripped it off?
I haven't busted him off the bubble yet, buddy. No, he's still on a card. What I need to do though is I don't know where you come across, where you get the cases to put them in. I've got a few carded figures in different lines, and I'm like, where? I mean, I haven't come across any shops in Japan that would have that kind of size. But if anyone in the chat knows where you get, cases and stuff, or if you guys know, let me know. If there's a online place, without paying.
Over here, but the shipping would be pretty expensive.
Yeah, you don't want a hard case. You just want the bubble case, don't you? Like the clamshell,
something like that.
Star case, I think they call them or something.
Yes, I think so. But you can't something just on like Temu or something. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll have a hunt around. Yeah. But that half court was a great find. Yeah, that was a figure that I didn't even have loose in the collection.
What's the boss?
Scotty's gone.
So
he's had it. He's had enough.
Said, I'm done. I don't know if you can he get back in? That's it. Who knows? All right.
Yeah, you don't see half put on card often, and when you do, it's ridiculous money. So
yeah, no, it was the kind of thing where, again, it came up online. I just like buy, and luckily I got it pretty quick. I mean, to be honest, I spend more time online than I probably should stalking different, resellers and stuff. Yeah, it's
you got to make do when you can't get out.
I love Johnny's comment. Sorry, just the 1-to-1. 1-to-1 scale pizza.
That's the one. Yeah.
Also, with the blimp, you're going to learn to hate it, but about 10 minutes after owning one, and you try to blow it up. It kills you, man. I tried to blow mine up a couple of months ago for an episode, and I ended up using a fish tank air pump just to blow it up. So I was like, I'll die from this.
So you were kind of list person, Phil? Like, would you know if you've completed the first wave, the second wave?
I'm a bit of a geek when I'm a list person when it comes to what I've spent. So I've got it's not even a spreadsheet. I just use the notes on my iPhone. So I've got I've got TMNT, I've got Motor, I've got all the categories, and then I've kept a list of basically the figures and what I've paid for them and stuff like that. So I try and be relatively sensible about it. Like when I do go back to New Zealand, actually every year, I do put a few things in my suitcase to sell off in New Zealand, like things which I know, maybe buyers can't get, in New Zealand so readily. And I usually, obviously make a bit of money that way to cover costs and things like that. I'm a bit cheeky that way, but I definitely I keep a list. And
do you have toy fairs like we have with like you see our videos at CollectorCon? Do you have those sort of toy fairs where you get to rummage through tubs, or is it mostly just toy shops
in Japan?
Yeah.
No, it is mainly toy shops, stuff behind glass cabinets and stuff. I think there are toy fairs and stuff out there, but I just haven't gotten around to getting there basically. But I would love to check one out at some point. But I watch you guys and the guys in the UK and watch your toy fairs, and I guess the grass is always greener, because I'm sure you're looking at my stuff and you're like, oh man, that's so exotic, so different. But the same happens when I look at your guys' videos, and I'm seeing a lot of toy lines, things like Centurions, cops. There are a lot of toy lines where you don't see it at all in Japan, and I see it on your videos. I'm just like for example, Mask. I haven't seen a single Mask figure or vehicle, the whole 6 years I've been in Japan.
Wow.
So there's obviously some toy lines which just never got released over here. So I'm the same when I see you guys. I see your toy fairs. I'm like, oh man, like what I would give to get my hands on some of that stuff. So
I get that just watching my video and going, oh crap, I didn't even see that, and I'm filming it.
Yeah.
I saw Mask on the weekend, at the Melbourne Toy Fair in box vehicles.
Good stuff. Yeah, right.
Nick Smith's joined us. G'day, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Nick.
Never too late, buddy. Never too late. A couple of new people there.
Oh, we got Retro Guy 79. G'day, mate.
How are you, mate?
Hey, Retro.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
No.
Every time. Hero, I think, was just talking about that comment up, Scotty. I think about specialist.
Well, Hero actually made a comment earlier saying, we've got to start a toy fair in Japan, or Phil, please start one or something. So I get the sense that Hero hasn't been able to get along to a toy fair either. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't think they have. Yeah, if they happen, that there may be an annual event or something like that, and I don't know if you guys are aware of a YouTuber he used to be called Tokyo Toy Bastard. I think he's changed his name to Tokyo Toy Banzai or something. And
Jeremy.
I can't remember his name, but he's got a great channel, and he's been in Japan a lot longer than me, and he knows his stuff. And I think I've seen 1 or 2 videos where he's been to a toy fair, but he's definitely not a regular. So that makes me believe that they don't happen that often. And if they do happen, they probably are only in Tokyo as well.
Yeah, see, I suppose maybe because there are so many stores dedicated to selling the vintage and modern pop culture collectibles that, I suppose it's possible that because of that, the fairs aren't as much part of the collector culture there. But whereas for us, like, we don't have that sort of depth of shops to go to be able to look at this stuff. So I suppose, toy fairs are a sort of more of a necessity to us collectors because of the
good
demand
point.
here. And we get them every other month, which I'm really grateful for.
So am I.
Reselling is a huge thing over here. Like, even in the city where I live in, which is outside of Tokyo, there's a heap of shops. The shops are called Hard Off or Hobby Off. They don't sell just toys; they sell clothing and electronics and stuff like that. So it is a big thing over here. People, buy and sell their used stuff all the time. So maybe that is a reason why there's no real demand for having, a big fair, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. Jeff
I don't
Holtz is
know.
asking. Sorry, Deano?
I was just going to say, I don't know what I'd do if the toy fair stopped. Like,
they look like great fun.
They are great fun, and sometimes I think I don't absorb it enough, because then in like a day or two I'll be watching a video of someone else at a toy fair and I'll be like, I want to go to a toy fair.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dino, I know what I did. I know what I did last time they stopped doing toy fairs. I started a YouTube channel, so it's funny. Like that was the reality, I suppose, in 2020, wasn't it? Like I fell in love with collecting and with toy fairs, and then just within a year of starting, they kind of stopped. So.
I just went on eBay for 2 years.
Yeah, I think we all did. Yeah, just hammered out the eBay. The eBay watch list, increased, and the eBay bills increased.
There's not a toy fair in Sydney in November by any chance, is there? Because I'm going to Sydney for the Oasis concert of all things, with a couple of mates in November. So I mean, if I could catch up with you fellas, that would be fantastic. Yeah. But if there was a toy fair as well to go to, that would just be the icing on the cake.
So there is a Penrith Collecticon fair. If it lands, it'd probably be somewhere around the end of November. So I'm not sure. Either way, definitely I'll make myself available to come have a beer or feed with you and hang out. Sure.
Brilliant.
Love that.
Do you know the timing of the concert off the top of your head?
23rd of November.
23rd of November. Is that Collecticon?
Yeah, Collecticon Penrith.
When's Oasis?
I think it's the start of November. I think it's like November.
And all November.
I'm saying a month.
The couch folds out, mate.
I'll stay a week at each of your places. Thanks.
So the 26th of October is Campbelltown, so that's in Sydney too. So that's just before.
Oh, just missing out. Oh well.
Yeah. Next time, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. We can still catch up and do something.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Without a doubt.
I'll bring you boys a random TMNT figure each. Something quirky from Japan.
Love it,
mate.
Love it.
Yeah, nice. Well, mate, that's awesome. Look, obviously, we're mindful of Phil's time, and for those that have tuned in a little bit later on in the stream, it is Phil's birthday today, so feel free to fire some birthday wishes at him. But I suppose we're getting towards the pointy end, because obviously we're mindful of Phil's time on his birthday. But there are a couple more questions for Phil from some folks in the chat. So we'll blast through those. But firstly, from Yeehaw. Did you get into any of the TMNT games for the NES or Super Nintendo? I know you mentioned that, shortly after Turtles, you sort of, the Sega consoles sort of stole your attention away. Is there any memories that you have of playing any of the Turtle video games?
For me, it was definitely the arcade game. That was a massive one for me. So definitely remember putting a lot of coins into that. I don't have quite as many. I don't remember having TMNT on a home console at all, but definitely the arcade game. That was huge. That was massive for me.
Yeah,
that was definitely one of the go-to arcade games that I'd play most weekends. That and WWF wrestling probably.
Yeah, the WrestleFest game was
amazing. With the Royal Rumble, yeah.
Yeah, so Phil, on that though, like in New Zealand, did you guys have actual dedicated arcades, or would it be like a machine in a video store or a pizza shop or something like that? What was the arcade situation like there?
Yeah, we had dedicated arcade centres.
Nice.
We had in Dunedin. Again, I think I was lucky because it was a university town, so there were 3 or 4 decent sized video arcade centres, and they had a heap of games inside. So that plus fish and chip shops were the place to go to play arcade games. So you'd go and order your scoop of chips and your fish, and while you wait, you'd play your Street Fighter or TMNT in the fish and chip shop while your food got ready. So they were the 2 places to go.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But again, the arcade, just sort of transitioning from the toys to, the toys stopped pretty quickly, and it would have been trading cards, going to video arcades and playing those games, and so the toys have just disappeared.
That's crazy. Scotty and I were actually playing the Turtles arcade game down in Melbourne. So, I think 3 of us played. I did 4, but that was good fun. We had no idea what we were doing. We were just smashing
smash the buttons.
But that game is just iconic, though. The music,
the
4-player control. Anyone in the chat who's in Melbourne or who's visiting Melbourne, go check out Bartronica. It's a mad little bar with pinball and arcade machines and just a lot of fun. So check that out if you guys are visiting or in Melbourne. Just a question here from Nick for you, Phil, about the availability of Takara TMNT in Japan compared to the rest of the world. I mean, So is it just the packaging that's different when it comes to the Takara branded stuff, Phil? Do you know if the actual toys themselves are stamped differently or sort of have subtle differences?
That is a very good question. I'm pretty sure, that they're all stamped Playmates. So it's literally just the packaging where you've got, a wee, and sometimes it's very hard to see. It's just a little square right next to. You got Playmates there on one side, and then you've got Takara in Japanese there. So most of the
sticker?
Sorry,
is it just a sticker?
No, it's actually on. It's not a sticker. It's actually printed on. It's kind of weird. Like you can see, it's got some Japanese font. So it's got the English here, and then it's got it says Samurai Scooter in Japanese there. So they're not stickers. They're actually on the actual card themselves, on the box themselves. But
that's interesting. Yeah, because I know with a lot of Star Wars, they just slap the stickers over the English writing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it depends on the toy line. Yeah. I know for Masters of the Universe, they slap the sticker over the top. With G.I. Joe, so Takara released the G.I. Joe stuff in Japan too, and they have their own card, as you've said, their card backs are quite different. But I think the actual figures themselves still have, Playmates or Hasbro. They must have the same molds, I guess.
Yeah. Was it the Japanese card backs that had the sticker on the back that covered the bio, like the?
Yes, a lot of them do, and that frustrates the hell out of me. Like right over, the vital statistic, whatever that's called.
Stuff you want to read as a kid.
I know, yeah. I think I was really lucky that that last figure I got, the Jurek, what's his name? Half Court. Yeah, luckily I don't think that had a sticker over top of it, so I was pretty stoked with that. But yeah, that can be a bit annoying sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah,
I think we touched on this a bit. It was more of a district area. But
yes, yeah. So an area called Akihabara in Tokyo is the place to go, and there's another area called Nakano Broadway is this really old school shopping arcade where it's got a lot of these tiny, like some of the stores, man, like you're worried that you're like a bull in a china shop. You're worried you're going to break half the things in the store because it's so tiny. But that's another great area to go to. But I'm sure if you went to some of the other bigger cities like Osaka, they must have shops as well. But yeah.
It sounds like Tokyo's the place to be, and then within Tokyo, you've got certain districts that have more than what we can take advantage of.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Just say farewell to Jeff.
Jeff.
And Night Matty as well. Thanks for hanging out with us, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, bud.
Mate, look. Although the timing doesn't quite work for CollectorCon, Phil, I'm stoked here that you're going to be coming here to Sydney, mate. It's interesting, you know, like we've been on a bunch of streams together, you know, we've chatted back and forth for a while, so it'd be kind of surreal to, you know, to finally meet you. So,
Definitely. Yeah, mate. No, I think especially with you, Scotty, you're one of the first guys that I sort of, you know, made friendships with when I started my YouTube channel. So yeah, it would be an absolute blast to meet you guys. And you know, I've been a long time fan of the Mutagents. I try to tune in every month when you guys are on. So
we appreciate you, mate.
Yeah, big fan.
Part of the family, mate.
Long time fan.
Yeah. And hey, you know, it's funny because, you know, Deano and I, we went to Melbourne last weekend and just spent 3 days doing nothing but toy hunting and drinking beer. And, you know, Dean and I were talking the other day about like, how could you sort of do a full day's toy hunt in Sydney? Like, and it's a bit tricky because places are spread out. But look, we've got comic stores and we've got some toy stores as well. So although, you know, if you've got, say, a Saturday to spare or a Sunday to spare or whatever the case may be, while you do visit, or even if it means, you know, taking a day off work or whatever, we can definitely plan an itinerary and hit up some spots with you, you know, and do a little bit of toy hunting, regardless of whether it's a toy fair or not. So we'll make that happen.
Sweet as.
Yeah,
sounds great. Yeah.
All righty. Well, look, appreciate everybody for hanging out in the chat. If you're watching us and you're familiar with myself and Dean and Dan, you're probably you know, quite familiar with Phil as well. You might be subbed up to his channel, Treasures for Trigger. But if you're not, there's a link to Phil's channel in the description of this stream. So definitely check that out. You know, I missed a couple of comments there, but some of the guys like Matt and Nate earlier on in the chat were just talking about what they love most about Phil's channel. And I would echo all of that. Like, you know, Treasures for Trigger is obviously a toy hunting and a toy collecting channel, but it really is so much more than that. It does offer a window into Phil's world in Japan. You know, I love Phil when you get on the bike and go for a cruise and we get to see some of those nice parts of your sort of commute or, you know, your adventures in Japan. And obviously we get to see you, you know, enjoying all of this stuff with your daughter as well, which is also really special. So
that's what I was going to say. But even the return trips is usually the annual episode back to New Zealand. And to see the pile of things that are just waiting for him. It's always one of my favorite.
All the stuff I've seen at home,
very family.
But it's a thrill to. I mean, you know, it's a thrill to share it with people. You know, it's and it's the same with toy collecting. Like some, you know, toy collecting is a very individualistic kind of a hobby, but you know, being able to share your experiences and your collections and stuff and make friendships out of it. I mean, that's what it's all about. So it's awesome.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Phil. It was really
good. Been an hour and a half flying by, big time. I hope I haven't bored you guys too much, but I've enjoyed it.
It's been great, and it's exactly what we wanted to chat about and just find out just how things happen. How's the turtle world in different parts of the world? So, very,
exactly.
Very cool.
And Yeeha's just making a comment here about, you know, can we get Phil on again? I mean, I look forward to the next opportunity to go live with Phil, and you know, whether it's in this format or a different one, because I mean, I'd love to pick Phil's brain on all the other toy lines he collects and all the other stuff that sort of keeps him occupied as a collector and as just as in general, I suppose, just, you know, his experience as a Kiwi in Japan. So I'm sure we'll go live again in the future at some point soon.
I was trying to learn about G.I. Joes the other day. I was watching you, Phil, I think on Kiwi Customs.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's so many Joes.
It really is.
That's a rabbit hole and a half. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, thank you everyone in the chat. That was a good.
Yeah, great to see everyone. Yeah.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And yeah, like I said, if you're not already, check out Phil's channel, and obviously you've got a link in the description to Deano's channel as well. Check out Totally Taylor Retro Hunters, and you got links as well to all the boys, including Dan's Instagrams as well. But above all, thank you very much, Phil, and thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat.
Do we sing Happy Birthday now as we say goodbye?
Well, we've got to do something to keep ourselves occupied while we wait for the time.
I brought him a Lego cake. There you go.
Between when I hit end stream,
delicious.
I'll start singing and you just press the button. So I go, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.